Welcome to this video demonstrating how Spell Chain plays. Both players are using a starter deck. We will be watching from the perspective of not Nick, who is using the Lightning starter deck. Our opponent is using the Fire starter deck. As a disclaimer, please note that all artwork seen on the cards other than Lightning Bot and Fireball are placeholder images used in the interim, while the artwork for all cards are completed. At the time of this recording, the only illustrations completed are Lightning Bolt and Fireball. Let's play. So at the start of every spell chain game, both players roll a d20. The player that rolls the higher number, in this case not Nick, gets to choose who starts first and plays the first card. Afterwards, both players set their d20s to 20, which is their max HP, and will be used to track their HP. Then both players shuffle their deck and draw 4 cards. So Notnik opens with a Lightning Bolt, a Shield Break, a Dragon Lightning, and a Counterspell. Notnik did decide Chaka will play first, giving Notnik last card advantage. Chaka opens with a Fireball, which will be the last card of the chain to be activated, which deals 1 damage. Notnik responds with a Lightning Bolt, that also deals 1 damage upon activation. Chaka plays Greater Fireball, that deals 2 damage on activation. Then Notnik plays Dragon Lightning, which deals 2 damage, and buffs the next Lightning card played to deal an additional 2 damage. Chaka responds with a Counterspell. Notnik responds with a Counterspell on that Counterspell. Chaka plays an ultimate card, Excalibur, which will destroy all spells afterwards, well, all cards, and deal 2 damage. Notnik's last card is a Shield Break, which will have no effect as there was no Spell Shield. So now, resolving a chain starts with activating the last card played. So Shield Break will be activated first, which has no effect. Then Excalibur. Now Excalibur again deals 2 damage to the opponent and destroys all other cards in the chain, therefore negating all cards afterwards. So Dragon Lightning, Lightning Bolt, Fireball, Greater Fireball, none of them will have an effect this chain. Now resolving the chain, all cards are removed and moved to the player's discard piles. Nick will now change their HP on their d20 to 18 from taking 2 damage from Excalibur. And that's the first chain of the game. The next chain starts with both players drawing 4 cards again. Nick has a strong hand with a Dragon Lightning, a Counterspell, a Siphon, which will allow them to stop a heal, and also Excalibur, their ultimate card. Both players can only have 1 ultimate card in their deck. So now we know both ultimate cards have been drawn. Whoever started the previous chain goes second the next chain, so now it's not Nick's turn to play the first card, which was Siphon, which will have no effect. Chaka activates a healing card, Rejuvenation, to heal 1 HP. Not Nick will play a counterspell to counter it. Chaka plays another Rejuvenation. Not Nick plays another Dragon Lightning. Chaka plays Siphon. And then Not Nick plays their Excalibur. Chaka's last card of the chain is Shield Break, which will activate first. However, it will have no effect, as there is no spell shield to counter. So Shield Break's effect will go off and do nothing, then Excalibur will activate, destroying all other cards in the chain and doing 2 damage. The chain is resolved and both players move their cards to their discarded piles again. And then for the next chain, as before, both players draw 4 cards. This time around, Notnik has a weaker hand, with primarily defensive cards and a Siphon, which is situationally a counter card. Chaka did play a Rejuvenate, which does open the floor for Siphon to activate, thus negating and countering the Rejuvenation. Chaka plays Counterspell, however, which will stop Siphon from activating. Then Notnik plays their own Rejuvenate card. Chaka plays a Spell Shield, which has no spell to block, so it will have no effect. Notnik plays Lightning Bolt. Chaka plays another Spell Shield, which will prevent her taking damage from the Lightning Bolt. So, Notnik's Spell Shield activates first in this chain, having no effect as it's not blocking a spell. Chaka's spell shield will activate, which will block the following lightning bolt. Then Chaka's second spell shield will activate, which will have no effect as it's not blocking any damage. Notnick's rejuvenate will activate, allowing them to heal 1 HP. Counterspell will prevent the siphon from having an effect. And the cards are moved to the discard piles. Notnick has a much more aggressive hand this chain with 2 lightning bolts and lightning storm. Now lightning storm deals 1 damage to both players and increases the damage of all lightning bolts by the number of lightning bolts played this chain. So Notnick has opened with a lightning bolt and Chak has responded with a fireball. Notnick plays a second lightning bolt. And here we can see lightning storm's effect. Chaka plays greater fireball. Notnick responds with a spell shield, which upon activation will prevent the damage of greater fireball. Chaka plays rejuvenate to heal 1. Notnick plays lightning storm, and Chaka ends the chain, which will be the first card activated with Heatwave. Now, Heatwave is a continuous card, so it has been moved to the continuous zone upon successful activation. Heatwave does increase the damage of all fire spells by 1. Lightning Storm activates, dealing 1 damage to both players. Chaka heals 1 from Rejuvenate. Spell Shield blocks Greater Fireball. Lightning Bolt activates, which will deal 3 damage to Chaka, as there are 2 lightning bolts, that's plus 2 damage to each lightning bolt. Then Fireball will activate, which will deal 2 damage instead of 1 to Notnick due to the buff of Heatwave. And the last card of the chain to activate is the last lightning bolt, which will also do 3 damage due to the effect of Lightning Storm. The important thing to note is that if one of the lightning bolts had been activated before Lightning Storm, they would have not been affected by Lightning Storm, so they would have only done 1 damage. We go into the next chain. Now this is the last chain of the round, as neither player has any cards left in their deck. Notnick's hand this time around is very defensive with 3 Rejuvenates and a Shield Break. However, Shield Break does provide an opportunity to counter a Spell Shield. Chaka opens with a Fireball. Notnick plays one of their Rejuvenates, which gets countered by Siphon. However, Notnick still has 2 Rejuvenates, playing one of them. Chaka plays a Shield Break, which will have no effect as there's no Spell Shield. Notnick plays another Rejuvenate, and Chaka plays Greater Fireball, which is buffed by Heatwave for 3 damage, and then Notnick ends the chain with Shield Break. So Shield Break activates first with no effect. Greater Fireball triggers, dealing 3 damage instead of 2 due to Heatwave. Notnick heals 1. Shield Break deals nothing. Notnick's Rejuvenate activates, healing 1. Siphon activates, negating Notnick's last Rejuvenate, dealing 1 damage and healing Chaka for 1 instead. And then Notnick also takes 2 damage from Fireball again, which has been buffed by Heatwave's continuous effect. And that concludes the last chain of the round. So both players now move the chain into their discard piles. Once this has been completed, the next round will need to be prepared for start. So both players flip their discard pile, shuffle their decks, and move them to their deck zone. And now the next round is ready to start. So the first chain of the second round begins with both players drawing 4 cards as always. Notnick has a decent hand for starting, a counterspell, a shield break, an Excalibur, and a lightning bolt. Now the optimal way to play Excalibur typically is as your last card of the chain. This allows you to negate all of your opponent's cards whilst guaranteeing 2 damage yourself. Chika opens up with a Fireball. Important to note is that Heatwave has been reshuffled into the deck, so at the moment this Fireball will only deal 1 damage. Notnick responds with a Lightning Bolt. Chaka does play a Spell Shield to block the damage, but Notnick does have a Shield Break, which will negate the Spell Shield and deal 2 damage. Chaka plays Greater Fireball. Notnick counters it. Chaka plays Siphon, and Not Nick plays Excalibur. Now, Excalibur is the last card played, so it'll be the first card activated, which will destroy all other cards and deal 2 damage to Chaka. So none of the cards this chain will have an effect as they've been destroyed. That's Not Nick's ultimate card used. When will Chaka use theirs? Going into chain 2, Not Nick has a Lightning Bolt, a Shield Break, a Siphon, and a Rejuvenate. This hand does provide a lot of flexibility to react to what Chaka may play. Not Nick opens with a Rejuvenate. Chaka counters with a Siphon. Not Nick plays Lightning Bolt. Chaka counterspells Lightning Bolt. Not Nick throws the Shield Break, hoping to counter a Rejuvenate, saving their Siphon. Chaka does play Rejuvenate. Not Nick counters with Siphon. Chaka plays Heatwave. So Heatwave activates, moving to the continuous zone. This will buff all following 5 spells for the rest of the round, unless it's destroyed. Siphon activates, negating Rejuvenate, dealing 1 damage to Chaka and healing Not Nick for 1. Shield Break has no effect. Counterspell negates Lightning Bolt, and Chaka's Siphon has the same effect, dealing 1 damage to Not Nick and healing Chaka for 1 whilst negating the Rejuvenate. That's chain 2. Players draw their 4 cards for this chain. Not Nick has got a tough hand for this chain. A combo piece, Dragon Lightning, without the rest of the combo. 2 spell shields and a counter spell. Not Nick counters the Rejuvenate. Chaka plays Shield Break, which will have no effect. Not Nick plays their Dragon Lightning, which is going to be spell shielded. Not Nick plays a Spell Shield. Excalibur is played, and Spell Shield is played after. Now, Not Nick's Spell Shield is activated before Excalibur. However, Excalibur is an artifact, not a spell, so the damage won't be mitigated. Excalibur activates, dealing 2 damage to Not Nick and destroying all other cards in the chain. Cards are again removed to the discard pile, and the next chain begins. Nick has drawn a very nice hand for this chain. 2 Rejuvenates, Dragon Lightning, and a Lightning Bolt to be buffed by Dragon Lightning. Nick opens with a Lightning Bolt first, as Dragon Lightning needs to be activated before Lightning Bolt in order for Lightning Bolt to be buffed. 2 Rejuvenates are played. It's important to know that Dragon Lightning's effect affects the next lightning spell the caster plays, not the next card. What this means is that Lightning Bolt can happen any time afterwards the Dragon Lightning has been activated. Chaka plays Greater Fireball, which is being buffed by Heatwave to deal 3 damage. Chaka has a second Greater Fireball, again, which will deal 3 damage. Not Nick plays a second Rejuvenate, and Shield Break is played last. Shield Break activates, dealing nothing. Rejuvenate activates, healing Not Nick for 1. However, Greater Fireball deals 3 damage with the effect of Heatwave. Dragon Lightning activates, dealing 2 damage to Chaka. Not Nick takes another 3 damage from Greater Fireball, buffed by Heatwave. Both players activate a Rejuvenate, and Chaka will take 3 damage from the last card of the chain, Lightning Bolt. The chain's been resolved, so both players move the cards to their discard piles. We now go into the last chain of the round, as both decks are now empty. Not Nick could have a better hand, however they are left with only a Counter Heal, Siphon, Rejuvenate, Lightning Bolt, and a Lightning Storm. There is potential here to hit Chaka with some good damage, and also counter the Rejuvenate. Unfortunately, Not Nick's counter of Rejuvenate, Siphon, has been counterspelled, but they are able to get a Lightning Bolt in there. Chaka does play a Fireball, which is buffed by Heatwave, then a Lightning Storm. Another Fireball comes in, which is 4 total damage between the 2 Fireballs, and Notnick's last card, Rejuvenate. Now Notnick heals 1 from Rejuvenate, takes 2 damage from the Fireball. Both players take 1 damage from the Lightning Storm. Fireball does again 2 damage to Notnick. Lightning Bolt dealing 2 damage to Chaka, buffed by Lightning Storm. Counterspell stops Siphon from activating, allowing Chaka to heal 1. Chaka is now on 5 HP, whilst Notnick is on 4. As both players remove their cards into their discards, they flip the discard pile, reshuffle the deck, and move it to the deck zone to open up for round 3. Both players draw their opening hand for the 3rd round. Notnick has a strong hand with a Lightning Bolt, a Dragon Lightning, and a Siphon with a counterspell. Notnick opts to play the Siphon first, wanting to save his other 3 cards for more flexibility and a stronger attack. It looks like Chaka has the same idea, playing their Siphon at the start. Notnick plays their Lightning Bolt, Chaka with a Fireball, Notnick with their Dragon Lightning, which if activated will buff the Lightning Bolt to deal 3 damage. Right now, Notnick does have lethal on the board, with 5 damage combining Dragon Lightning and Lightning Bolt. Notnick counterspells the Fireball, and Chaka plays Greater Fireball last, which will deal 2 damage to Notnick. Notnick counterspells the Fireball, saving his life. Chaka is hit by Dragon Lightning, dealing 2 damage. Notnick takes 1 damage from Fireball. If Notnick did not counterspell the previous Fireball, Notnick would have lost right now. Then Chaka takes another 2 damage from Lightning Bolt, putting Chaka onto 0 HP. Notnick has won the game. As we can see here, Chaka started the chain on 4 HP, but Dragon Lightning does 2 damage and buffs the next lightning spell to deal +2, therefore a total of 5 damage. Notnick would have lost if he had not counterspelled the Fireball, as he would have taken the 4th damage just before the Lightning Bolt would have hit. You now have an idea of how Spell Chain is played. In this match, both starter decks were used. However, there are over 100 cards to choose from in building your own deck. Join our Discord community, link in the description, to learn more about Spell Chain and play it yourself.